Okay, so for number 1, you're finding the scale factor. Remember that scale factor is image over pre-image, and that is, you could do this side over this side, but remember this is the image since it has the tick marks. That is our image. So we have to get a number off of that one first. So this one's going to go on top. That is the length of 1, 2, 3. And the pre-image corresponding side is a length of 1. So 3 over 1, which just equals 3, is the scale factor. And then for number 2, remember to draw your triangles separately. So I'm going to draw this triangle here separately. Let's see, I'll just draw it over here. And that is C, D, E. And we have a length of 10 because CD is 10. CE is 12, and that's all we have on the small one. We don't have the bottom. So now we're going to do the other triangle. The bigger one goes from A to E. So we have A, E, and then it goes from E to B across the bottom. And so we have some side lengths. So we don't know A to E. That's the question mark, so that's going to be our X from A to E. We have A to B is 15. And we don't know the bottom, but we don't need it because when we actually solve this corresponding parts, we're just going to do, two fractions. So we have 12 over x equal to, now notice since I went from this small one to the big one, I have to go small to big again, so 10 over 15. And then of course you can cross multiply, and we will get 180 equal to 10x, and then when you divide both sides by 10, you get x equals 18. That is that one. So then number 3 is asking you to find the ratio from small to big. It gives you a ratio there. Remember, that's your scale factor. Basically, you can use that as one of your fractions, 2 to 3. Now notice they put the smaller number on top and the bigger number on bottom. So you just need the number off the smaller triangle first. Well, if you look, they want you to find EF. And that will be what's on the smaller triangle, E to F. So we're going to put that on the top since it's off the smaller one. And we need the corresponding side off the big one. Notice that the side we want it has to match the side with the X on it. And that goes from the 3 arc mark to the 1 arc mark. So from the 3 arc mark to the 1 arc mark is 7. So we have to put 7 on the bottom. And now we can cross multiply. So that is 14 equal to 3x. And then once we divide both sides by 3, we get our answer. It doesn't divide evenly, so we can leave it as 14 thirds. Then number 4 is asking which one of these can we use. So notice we have numbers on all 3 sides, so hopefully you should see, well, let me try that one. Remember, just because it has the numbers there doesn't mean it's going to work out, but that kind of lets you know which one to try. So in order to see if it works, you have to put corresponding sides over each other and see if they simplify to the same thing. So that's 8 and 12. Now notice order matters, so I need to make sure since I went from small to big that I go from small to big again. So I'm going to do 10 to 20 and 14 to 21. And remember, they all need to simplify to the same thing. Notice here, when you simplify 8/12, that we could put it in the calculator and use a decimal if you like, but it does simplify to 2 thirds. This one simplifies to 1/2. So right there, I know it's not working out. So it really doesn't matter at that point. There's no other option here because we don't have any angles to look at. Nothing's marked. There's nothing we can mark ourselves. So this is a case where they are not similar. So hopefully got not similar for that one. Moving on to number 5, we do need to label our triangles. We have that AB is 7, DB is 5, BC is 7, and we are finding the length of DE. So here's our X. Remember, whenever the triangles are laying on top of each other, we're going to draw them separately. So if I draw that small one there, I have 7, 7, and I don't know AC. I should probably label ACB. And then for the bigger one, we have A, D, E. So notice there from A to D, that's key that you're noticing it goes all the way because that's everything included. So that's why that side, if you add those together, you get 12. And then across the bottom, we don't know, so that is our X. And remember, that's all we need because we just need corresponding parts. So we know that 7 corresponds to 12. And then we know that this 7 on the bottom corresponds to X. So remember, if you do big to small, I got to do big to small again. And hopefully you see here that if we have, if we cross multiply, you can cross multiply if you like, but hopefully you see that the only way this is going to work, if the both tops are 7, the both bottoms are going to be 7 as well. But I'll go ahead and work it out just so you could see that. And moving on to number 15, notice here it gives us a ratio again. So remember, whenever it gives you a ratio, you can use that as your fraction. So we're going to use that as our first fraction. Notice it is the bigger number on top. So I'm going to go to my bigger triangle first, but let's see what they're looking for. We're looking for xz. So that's going to be our variable, our x. That's our unknown. So we need the side that corresponds to xz off of the big one, which if you, let me just guide you to this part up here. X to Z is the first and last letter. So the first and last letter here is RT. Because you got to, you know, sometimes the triangles could be flipped, but you got to make sure it actually matches. So R to T is this one. That's why I was marking that one. So remember, it is in the order of big on top. So I'm going to put the 5 first because it's off the bigger triangle. And X on the bottom. So now when I cross multiply, I have 2x equal to 5. And then dividing by 2, we get x equals 5 over 2, or 2.5. So that is our answer for that one. Number 16, once again, you want to use your order. We're trying to find NL, which is this side. And if you look up here, NL, last 2 letters, corresponds to LS, the last 2 letters. So those two should be corresponding when we set up our fraction. Notice it goes from left triangle to right triangle, so we need to go from left triangle to right triangle. And remember, when you cross multiply this, you're going to have to distribute since there's more than one term at the top. So we're going to distribute that 24 to both 3x minus 1. And then we're going to distribute that 28. I'm going to write over this other problem, but it's okay. We're distributing to x plus 7. So 24 times 3 is 72x. 3x, 24 times negative 1 is negative 24. 28 times x is 28x. And then 28 times 7 is 196. So remember, you want to solve by getting the variables together, but the x by itself, we want to get the x's together first because that's just the best thing to do. That way we only have one variable. 72 minus 28 is 44x. We're going to bring down everything we didn't use. And we get 196 over here. So now we're going to add 24 to both sides now that we know our x is on the left. I'm running a little bit out of room here, but I'm going to try to squeeze it in. So we have 44x equal to, that is 220. Then our last step, which I'm running out of room, but we're going to make it work. When we divide by 44, we get x equals 5. Now, this problem is a clear case of you will get it wrong if you do not read all back the question. So even though you may feel real successful because you got x equals 5, and if you got it right, that is the wrong answer because you need that to get your answer, but overall they want the length of NL. So NL is the length that we get when we use 3x, let me not use L though, it's not wise, 3x minus 1, and now that we know x is 5, that's really 3 times 5 minus 1. So 3 times 5 minus 1, that's going to equal 14. So if you do not actually get 14 and you just got 5, you're going to get the answer wrong because you did not read back the question. All right, so the correct answer is 14. Number 17, you're finding the tree height. Notice you have two triangles laying on top of each other. So as I always do, I'm going to draw that small one separate. Oops, didn't mean to add a page. It's okay. All right, so we have the small one, which we have a side length of 2 meters, bottom length of 3 meters, and then we have our big one. We have a bottom length for the big one of 30. And we are looking for the height of the tree, so that should know your X is going to go where the tree is. Well, in this case, that's our right side of our big triangle. And now hopefully you have enough to set it up. So I'm going to do small over big, just because you don't have to. You could do big over small. Just make sure your fractions are consistent. So I'm going to do small over big for the second one, because order matters. So we have 3x equals 260. And once we divide by 3 on both sides, you should find that x is equal to 30, which is the height of the tree. All right. And then last few problems here, same story. Every time corresponding parts. So the side compared to the side. So if I'm just going to go right to left or big to small. So h over 5. And then big to small again. 24 over 8. And then cross multiplying. We get 120. And then we divide by 8. We get that h, the height of the flagpole, equals, oops, I'm putting that on the wrong side, and I don't like that, so let me fix it. So the height of our flagpole equals, ooh, I forgot it already. Alexa, what's 120 divided by 8?
120 divided by 8 is 15.
15, like Alexa said. So 15 feet is the height of our flagpole. All right, number 19, we are dilating using this rule. Notice if a number is directly next to a variable, that means multiply. Anytime we dilate, we multiply. So we're going to multiply the x and y variables, our coordinates, by 2. So if we multiply this coordinate by 2, that's going to become 4, 6. If we multiply that coordinate by 2, it's going to become 4, negative 2. And lastly, if we multiply that by 2, it is going to become negative 6, negative 2. So this should be your list of your new coordinates. It didn't say you had a graph. It just wants to know what are the coordinates of the image. And then lastly, number 20, there was that note in number 9. Number 9. Angles are congruent in similar triangles. Angles are congruent. So what does that mean for number 20? That means that corresponding angles, where is it? Where'd it go? Did I delete it? Oh, it's right here. Corresponding angles are congruent, so that means they're equal. So that's 60. Well, guess what? That has to be 60 then, because they're corresponding. If this is 80, guess what? That's 80. So now we know the measure of angle M, remember little m means measure, is 80, and the measure of angle Q equals 60. Voila! Hopefully everybody got all these right, but if not, make sure you know what to do by tomorrow because it is test day. Adios!